Yeah, it was a fascinating experience going to study at the Starbucks on the corner of Balsam Street and West 41st in the Kerrisdale neighborhood of Vancouver. I mean, it was, the fact that, just sort of my tendency to study at any Starbucks, while, studying for the motive of, of getting focused and in the zone for trying to focus on my studies. It was just my natural tendency to study at any Starbucks, never mind this one. But, yeah, I mean, with having recently moved to the Kerrisdale neighborhood, and just with this one Starbucks happening to be like literally right within walking distance, like right at the end of my street of where I live, I just, like those two factors combined, led me to going to this particular Starbucks frequently. And so just observing just the past several times that I had gone there to study on such a high frequency basis. One of the things I noticed was this, one of the employees, I think she was this Latino looking girl or whatever, she, because I think I had gone like a few times in a row or something like that. So every time I go there, I would always order a cinnamon dolce latte. And she, remembered me by face and she remembered my drink. And so it's like whenever I would order, she would say like cinnamon dolce latte. And I would say, yeah, you got it. But yeah, no, so I mean, that was one thing but also she remembered my name because, baristas, they ask for your name so they can write it on the cup so they know which drink order belongs to which customer. So yeah, I mean, so that was one thing, but I think, and then in addition, there's this other Asian dude who, always gives me the nod or whatever, and so basically this whole, like, all of these things kind of, these were all accumulating factors, which but most recently, this was today when I went to that same Starbucks, I was sitting down at a chair and there was this one elderly man named, he asked if he could sit at the sofa next to me. I said, no, that's fine, it's okay, go ahead. And then he introduced himself to me as Colin, and then I introduced myself as Nick, shook hands, and then he told me he told me he did writing for a profession, which, a bell went off because citing my tendency, or writing being one of my considerations. After doing a bit more studying, I actually asked him like what kind of writing he did. And then after telling me that he wrote poetry and novels, etc., that he elaborated to talk about just kind of his experience with how he did writing, how he could focus more writing in Starbucks as opposed to, just sitting in an apartment, which was very concurrent with my finding it a lot more easier to concentrate at a Starbucks than within the confines of my own apartment. So it's pretty fascinating to have something like that in common. And then sure enough, like, he had left, and meanwhile I had been studying there all day, with being in the zone. And then Colin, came back. And then one of my external observations was that, the staff at Starbucks, they remembered him. And then, so just that combined with them, remembering me, or at least a couple of the employees remembering me, along with this other middle-aged man. I think he might have either been schizophrenic or something like that, but nonetheless, they remembered him too. So then it just kind of catapulted into this whole kind of circle of like interaction. And so just the ultimate conclusion I drew was that this particular Starbucks, being so community-like, unlike so many other Starbucks I've gone to, which, you know, when you think like, you know, for instance, in the downtown when I used to live back there, there were so many of them that there's a higher tendency for people to just come and go, and, you know, maybe staff turnover, etc. Whereas here, you know, with this Starbucks being giving off such a community vibe, I think that's a characteristic of how Kerrisdale, with being a smaller neighborhood in a suburb within Vancouver, you know, being much more quieter and whatnot, that reflects Kerrisdale itself, you know, giving off more of a community feel within downtown Vancouver. So yeah, it was quite an interesting experience, and an interesting reflection with putting all these factors together. So yeah.